What is going on, people? 2 videos in 2 days. I'm on a roll. Well, I had this thought going through my mind for a while. I wanted to make this video for a long time, but just never sat down to do it. And to tell you the truth, anybody watching this, or possibly anyone after, what I want to do is actually make this, everybody's got tagged videos and all this stuff. This is what I want to kind of do with this one. I'm going to tag a few people, and then if you're watching this, feel free to join in as well. And then we'll make this maybe a hashtag or something. Hashtag, if you couldn't tell by the title, hashtag top 5 go-to movies. And when I say go-to movies, it's kind of the movies, for those of you who collect anything in life, we're going to talk about movies because that's what I do. But anyway, the more you have of something, sometimes it's harder to pick something out. Meaning, most of the time when I'm watching movies, I watch it before I go to bed. And having so many movies, you would think, oh, it's easy just to take a movie, pop it in, and watch it. Well, sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes it's one of those deals where I'll take a movie out of the collection, I'll try to pop it in, and I question myself. And then I put it back in and then take another one. And it takes a while. It takes about like 15, 20 minutes to actually pick a movie to watch just to go to sleep to, in my case. But there's 5 movies. There's more than 5. There's probably about 10, but I'm going to keep it to 5. There's 5 movies that I don't have that problem with. If I can't think of one, these are the top 5 things that I can pull out of my collection, put it in, and have no qualms, no problems, popping it in and watching it at any given time. So that's what it is. Hashtag top 5 go-to movies. So if you're interested, if you want to join this tag, if you want to have fun, I guess you want to call it. Not that it's tremendously fun, but I'd like to see what other people, are interested in, or the movies that pretty much are their top 5 in essence, technically, because these aren't my top 5, but these are the movies I can watch at any given time. Sometimes my top 5 movies I can only watch at certain times, but these are the ones that I can watch at any given time. So there's going to be 3 people I want to know what theirs is, and then again, if you want to join in and do this tag video and then share it, and we'll see what the community's like. But the 3 people I'm interested in is Mr. the 13th Wolfman. I don't know why I called him Mr. the 13th Wolfman, a fellow Dorkening member. I want to know, the movies from the 1920s and all that stuff. Kidding. I'm interested in what movies. Most of them I'm sure are going to be horror movies, but I want to know what your top 5 are. And then I'm calling out the 2 head honchos pretty much of this movie community, because I see them do reviews and all this stuff. I've never really heard them talk about their, top 5 and anything, or I'm sure I have, but kind of forgot about it. But to tell you the truth, I'm interested in what movie, and Cool Duder, I want to know what your top 5 go-to movies are, what movies you can pop in at any given time and have no problems with it. So those are my tags, and let me get into this. Again, if anybody wants to join it, if you're interested in it, just put the hashtag top 5 go-to movies. So let me get into it. These are in no particular order. I have 4 movies and a documentary. So the first one that I can pop in at any given time and have no problem with it, it's one of my favorite movies of all time, and it's The Sandlot. This is a baseball movie. I'm not into baseball, whatever. That's probably one of my least favorite sports, but this is one of my favorite movies of all time. If you haven't seen it, what have you been doing with your life? Anyway, The Sandlot, I'll kind of just talk about each one just a bit. The Sandlot is about a kid named Scotty Smalls who moves into a new town with his mother, I almost said wife, with his mother and his stepfather. Pretty much he knows no one. He ends up going to this sandlot, which is a baseball field, and he runs into these kids who have their own team, but it's not like, a town-wide team or whatever. It's just them doing their own thing. He ends up going there. He has no clue what he's doing, never played baseball before, messes up. They laugh at him, but he comes back and learns the game, and it's just the hijinks that they go through this. I guess it's like a summer-long thing kind of deal. I don't think they ever gave like a full disclosure of how long it was. probably about a year, I'm going to guess. But it's him and the people that go through this summer together. One of the major things being he hits a baseball over the fence and they got to get it back from a monster dog. That's, half the movie or half the craziness that goes on. But if you haven't seen this movie, I mean, has one of the best arguments and the best, what do you want to call it? The greatest lines, I guess you want to call it, of all time. Most quotable, that's what I'm looking for. The most quotable lines of all time is in this movie, The Sandlot. The next one is a probably lesser known Disney movie, but I love it just the same. Some people like the second one of this a little bit better. I like this one more. It's the first one of it. It's The Rescuers. The Rescuers is pretty much about a mice that run this rescue aid society. That's what it's called. It's pretty much them helping people out. And it's two mice, Bernard and Bianca. They end up getting put on this case about a girl named Penny who got kidnapped from an orphanage, and she's getting held hostage pretty much by these two people that are trying to make her get a diamond. And now these two mice are sent to her to get her out of the situation, get her home safe. And the craziness and the hijinks and whatever that goes with it. I am a kid at heart. I love Disney stuff, and this is one of my favorite top 5 Disney movies of all time. But this one I could pop in the most. The next one is one that I found out a lot more people in my head, I was like, if I tell people I like this movie, they'd probably laugh at me, which at that point I don't care. My taste is my taste. But I always was like, maybe people don't like this movie. But a lot more people do like this movie than I actually thought. And the movie is The New Adventures of Pippi Longstocking. Yes, one of my favorite movies. Again, probably my top 10 favorite movies are early 90s kids movies. Or I think this came out in the 80s. But around that when I was young, I could watch these movies and I love them and whatever. But Pippi Longstocking pretty much is about a girl who is, let's just say, unique. She lived pretty much with her father and his crew on I don't want to say pirate ship, but that's how she grew up. She had no pretty much social life besides them. So her thinking and stuff is kind of out there and odd and different. Well, their ship gets sunk. Definitely not the proper way to say it. The ship got hit by a storm and it sunk. There you go. She ends up having to swim to this town, to this place, Billavillacoola, which is this house kind of deal, and she lives across the street or next to these two young kids who befriend her. And again, she's completely different than most people. She doesn't have the social means of normal, I guess, people, but she has her own quirkiness and stuff, and the stuff that goes, the events that go on in this movie are definitely fun. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. I think this movie could, again, it came out, I believe, in the late 80s, but I think it could hold up now. This movie hits home, I guess you want to call it, nowadays, not nowadays, but all through, watching movies and whatever. All the heroes, all, the people that get the girls, all the good guys in most movies are these hunky guys that are built and cute and all this stuff. And growing up fat, it was one of those situations where you kind of felt left out. There's only a few movies that, I could relate to. Heavyweights is one. This is another one. This takes place in a high school, and that is Angus. Angus is played by Charlie Talbot. Believe he's a sophomore or junior in high school. He plays football. He's pretty good at it. He's very smart. He's really good into science. But being fat in high school, you get picked on. He was a dork kind of deal. And pretty much that was his high school career. The jock, played by James Van Der Beek, he pretty much bullies him. Starts out of nowhere and then throughout middle school and high school, and brings us to today. He has a crush on Melissa Lefevre, who's played by, forget her name. She played Lexi in Jurassic Park. Pretty much he grew up with a crush on her, and it's him going through high school, given the opportunity to go to a different high school, more for, smart people and whatever, and his choices that he has to make and the stuff that he does, and wanting to go to prom. And if you haven't seen it, I say go ahead. It's a coming-of-age comedy, I guess you want to call it, but it's definitely one of my favorite movies, and another one that I can just pop in at any given time. And the last one is a documentary. I was never huge into documentaries until the past couple of years, because I never really watched them. I never saw them. I didn't watch too much TV. I was always a movie guy, so I didn't really see them on TV, and there wasn't really means of anything. Now on Netflix, you get so many, and there are more coming out and whatever. But this one definitely was one that I wanted to check out. One, because I'm more into documentaries, but two, when I was younger, I was a wrestling fanatic. And I say fanatic, I had the pillow buddies, I had all the little toys, I had the WWF magazine, I had all the games and whatever. I was a huge wrestling fan, probably from when I was, 6 or 7 to mid-2000s when I was in high school and this stuff. Now I kind of, the product isn't what it used to be, not what I liked. But one of my favorite wrestlers is Jake the Snake Roberts, and pretty much this is the documentary, The Resurrection of Jake the Snake. Pretty much, when I was younger, he scared me, but I enjoyed the way he talked and everything. When you're a fan, when you're a young fan, even when you're older, sometimes you don't know the behind-the-scenes kind of deal. Well, when he retired, when he stopped doing what he loved, he fell into a bad place. He was doing drugs and alcohol. Pretty much at one point in this said he was looking to die. He was watching other people die, and he was asking, when's my turn and all this stuff. Well, he runs into an old friend, Diamond Dallas Page, who now does DDP yoga and all this stuff. Runs into him again. They reconnect, and DDP pretty much brings him back to I don't want to say reality, but brings him back from the depths of what he made his life to, where he was now. A couple years, this is pretty much 2 or 3 years ago taped. He got himself off of drugs and alcohol. He was getting himself in a better shape. He was getting himself back in the good graces of everything that he, once kind of threw away. He went into Hall of Fame. He did all this stuff. And it's just pretty much the documentary of all that going on. I watch this here and there because it's very inspirational. Watching someone who, nowadays everybody thinks they're worse off than everybody else. When you watch something like this, you look and you're like, listen, there's people that have a lot more going on than what I do, and watching them come from where they were to what they are now, it's very inspirational. Watching this, I remember when I first started my weight loss journey that some people don't know I'm on, but pretty much watching this, they had it out, clips here and there, and then on their YouTube you would check it out. But it was one of the inspirations that got me going into it, besides a few people who I mentioned in the beginning of this video. But sometimes sometimes it takes something like that to look at someone and be like, hey, if they can do it, I can do it, kind of deal. And this was one of the things that got me into it as well. And it's definitely one of the better documentaries that I've watched in a long time. And it's another one that I can just pop in at any given time. I might not watch the whole thing. I kind of, zone in and out because I've watched it so many times. But it's definitely one that I watched a lot. So, yeah, those are my top 5. Like I said, top 5 movies that I can pop in at any given time. No questions asked. I can have certain ones you pull out and you're like, forget it. Those are the top 5. So I want to know what you guys... what yours is. Again, if you decide to do it, just in the title put hashtag top 5 go-to movies, and then if you want, let them know I tagged it, because I haven't seen people do it. I could be wrong, but those are my top 5. So again, Wolfie, Cool Duder, and What Movie Won. I'm tagging you guys, but anybody else who's watching this, feel free to join, and then we'll see where this goes. It could go nowhere, but it'll be fun to see where people, or what people think, and what people's favorite movies are. So, yeah, if you enjoyed this, check out my other videos. I do a whole bunch of reviews and stuff. And check the show notes and everything. If you enjoyed it as well, definitely go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit that little whatever bell, I guess you want to call it, so you know when I put new videos up. And yeah, I appreciate it. Just check the show notes for all my other social media, Instagram, where I show off my movies. I got a Twitter, I got a Facebook fan page. I'm part of the Dorkening. If you haven't checked that out, go ahead. We do interviews with a lot of indie horror movie actors, actresses, but then we do a whole bunch of other stuff. We got a video game show that we just started up, and then we have a Sunday discussion, pretty much all darkness, comic books, and movies and that stuff. So if you haven't checked that out as well, go ahead, check it out on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch now, and it's all over the place. But check that out, The Dorkening. And yeah, I guess until next time, I'll see you.